be out there digging post holes with a postal digger by hand. And the one has a college education. He might be getting $20, $25, $30 a day. But the one that does not have a college education is their salary cap is, I believe it might have gone up now, but at that point when we went in 2018, their salary cap was $10 a day. So unless you had a college education, unless you had that little piece of paper that said you went to college, you could be the best postal digger, you could be the best mason, you could be the best whatever you could be, and you were stuck at $10 a day. But you went and got an education. It's unlimited where you could go with this. And so obviously for that reason, education is a real push, and especially English, because Thailand is a tourist. I would say probably tourism is one of their main, what they survive on. And it was very tough over COVID there. They had a very difficult time because tourism is a big, that's big for them. And so learning English is very key to this as well. So what was happening, and this is kind of where Giving Hope has started. What was happening is, I guess it was Hope for Tribes first, but then Giving Hope was a branch off of that. Hope for Tribes. So say you lived in a village, your family lived in a village, there was no school, so there was no chance of you prospering, getting ahead in life, or your children. And so parents were sending and in the village, maybe an hour, 2 hours away, was a little bigger village, and they had a school. So you want your children to have education, so you send your preschool, you send your first grade, you send your second graders to that village to go to school, and they were on their own. I can't imagine can you imagine sending your 5, 6-year-olds just out to, sometimes they had uncles, aunts, they had relatives that they knew that they could live with. But it was not a very safe environment. And unfortunately, in Thailand, and this is most of the foreigners that come into Thailand, the human trafficking is a big thing there. And like I said, it's more because of foreigners that come into Thailand and take advantage of them. And so these children, yes, it was not a very, very good situation. So Hope for Tribes, what they did was went into these villages and set up a safe place for these children. These children could come, and maybe they might have 30, 40, 50 children that could stay there at night, have a safe place at night. They had chores to do, and during the day they took turns going to school. Some had to stay back and do chores to help them, to gardening and things like that. So that was, and they every morning they would have devotions, have a Bible study with these children. And so exposing these children to the gospel until they were, most of them going in ready for high school. And this was I believe, very important step. These children were learning about Jesus. They were becoming Christians. They were wanting to live for Christ. So now they're out of school. So so the next step is obviously college, so that's the next step that they need to go. So now they're going into the big city, Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai, those cities, to go to college. So even though, and now that's basically the same thing all over. They're just older and a different set of problems. Get into bad company, drugs, alcohol, things like that. So Giving Hope is where we're more or less a part of, or helping. Ken Byler is on the board. So Giving Hope did basically the same thing in the big city. Then they set up dorms. They have house parents for one for the boys and one for the girls, and church services with them. Did just discipleship studies with them, Bible studies, courses, and activities with them to keep them out of trouble, and just to help them stay strong. And these were children that were, the requirements for this is they have to be Christians, and so they had a fairly good supply of those through the chain that was from the villages, from the schools that were now coming to the big cities. And so they incorporated kind of the same concept there. And they have Bible studies, they have theology classes for these men that go through college that can do Bible classes. And when after they're through their 4 years of college, they also have their pastors. They're considered pastors. And that's another little piece of paper that is very important in Thailand, that if you're a pastor, you're a little more important, or it's another document. So now these college students are pastors, and now they're going back. Some of them are getting jobs, otherwise getting good jobs, but others are going back to their villages, back in the mountains, and starting churches and witnessing to their people at home. So it seems to be, it's one of those things you could very easily, as any mission endeavor is, it can be discouraging because it's not a fast process. It's been quite a few years to see this circle around and have. But it seems, I would say it would be much more, we could go there and talk and speak and preach and go into these villages, and they wouldn't take anything off of us. It's not wasting our time, basically. But to help the young people become educated, help them, disciple them in the Christian lives, and then have them go back and minister to their own people seems to be much more effective. And now they're starting churches, they're pastoring in their villages. And now adults in those villages are being converted. So it is a blessing when you hear that, see that. So that's kind of where what Giving Hope is. What English camp now that we've been doing the last several years and that we plan to do again is separate from that. James, this pastor from Thailand, he's very good at, he's energetic, very energetic, has a vision. He likes small churches, and his vision is planting churches. And so in the city of Chiang Mai, I don't know how many churches smaller Christian churches there are, but and then this English camp, which is going into schools, will go. I guess we did one or two right in Chiang Mai, but the one, I think the last one we went to was about an hour and a half, was a smaller village, and we go into the schools. There's maybe 200-300 students, and 1 through 6, we call it English camp, because if we would say that we would be coming to do Bible study, they probably wouldn't be receptive to that. So we do English camp, and they all want to. So here again, they all want to learn English, and so it's kind of I guess it's not really deceptive, but so we use Bible stories. They don't learn a lot of English, I don't think, in all this, but we call it English camp. So we use Bible stories to teach English, and hopefully they get more out of the Bible stories stick more with them than the English does, but just another way to reach more children, more young people. And so we usually have 5. We set up in 5 groups. We had I forget now exactly what we usually have 5 different stations, 2 or 3 people manning each station. And we do it kind of like VBS, where you have maybe 10-15 students visit your class, and you do your activities, and then for an hour, and then that group moves on to the next one, and they do a different. They had cooking classes. They did just games. They had actually English, where they learned some of the basics of English, crafts. And it seems there was one other. I'm not sure what the other one was, but so basically 5 stations. So in the course of the day, each group of children moves from one to the other. In the course of the day, they'll be in all 5 stations. And you do that for approximately a week. It depends, 3 to 4 days, sometimes up to a week that we do this. So you get to, and children they're very outgoing. They love to interact, and they become quite attached in just a short time. They can, and not knowing what kind of home life they come from, not knowing, no idea what family situation they come from, or what, um, how that is. But it's really special to just try to make a difference, small difference in their lives for a short time. There's I'm not sure how much there's, and I'm going to ask maybe, and I'm going to ask if you have questions, or maybe if there's something that you want me to cover, you can, we'll have a little bit of discussion here first, maybe some questions if you have more questions, and then I'll have to, seems like this plug up here isn't working, so I'll have to go back there to move the slides, and I can speak from back there then, to go through the slides. One thing I did miss, the climate in Thailand, at least in Chiang Mai where we're at, is probably a high of 85 and 90, and that usually only happens about 365 days a year is that high. So and the low is maybe 65. So it's very moderate. Year round, the temperature stays the same, but then they have a rainy season and a dry season. Right now would be the rainy season from about 1st of May till end of September is their rainy season, where it will rain every day. It doesn't rain all day, but just every day. And when we were there in June, we witnessed that. It was very hot. It was 85 degrees and humid, and then in the afternoon, 2-3 o'clock, it would just dump rain, and a couple inches of rain in no time, and the streets are flooded, and everybody you're just wearing flip-flops anyhow, so you just keep right on going. Umbrellas, usually there's umbrellas everywhere, and so that's the rainy season. And then it tapers off until about the mid-December. It stops raining and doesn't rain again unless maybe once in a while an odd shower, but doesn't rain again until the end of March. So there's almost 4 months of dry. And that was one reason to go in November this year. They gave us the option of November or February, because that's when works best with their schools over there. And I chose November this year because I wanted to see a little bit different. February and March can be, if that was your first impression of Thailand, you might not be impressed, because it is brown, it is dry, and especially the later it gets, they grow a lot of rice, and so the later it gets, they burn off their rice fields. So you can imagine, especially Chiang Mai sits in a valley. It's, I think, around a little over 1,000 feet in elevation, with mountains around it and a big valley. And so you have farmers burning off their rice fields. You have farmers burning off their brush from the hillside, and the smog, the haze is real, and it's bad. So we were there in June. The first time, it was lush, almost like a rainforest, green. And then when I went back in February and March, it wasn't. Yeah, it was definitely quite different. But that's just, and you'll see some pictures of it. I believe there's a temple, Doi Suthup Temple. The mountain itself is right around 5,000 feet in elevation, I think. So it's almost, you go up to this temple, and we can walk out, and there's a wall there, and it looks like it would basically drop straight down into Chiang Mai, and thousands of feet. You can see the airport, you can see planes taking off and landing below you. And the way I know that is we were up there in June. The times we were there in February and March, you could not see you wouldn't have known there was a city down there. It was just haze and smog. So it is, it's not, it's their way of life. It's what they need to do. This temple, Doi Suthup Temple, is interesting in there's many steps that go up to this. I forget, we counted them. I forget now how many it is, but there's a lot of steps. And it's a steep mountain. Here, I think it was probably back in the 1700s, sometime in there. The king and Thailand is from England. They have the roots from, there was English, I guess, from England, and so they have a king. They have a king. That's how I guess you would call it a monarchy. I'm not sure how that. They have a king. I think it was back in the 1700s, the king, and you'll see these temples. You'll see many temples. Idolatry is we think of idolatry, and I believe idolatry is anything that takes the place of God. But to actually see, to have, I mean, in this room here, something this size of this room, you might have 30 idols. And so you will bow down, you will pray, you'll see families with children praying to these idols. Idolatry is another level. But anyhow, so they build, you have temples all over. You look around the hillsides, you'll see temples. And so this king wanted to build a temple. And so he told his men that to let his elephant, he had his royal elephant, let it loose, and to follow this elephant. And wherever this elephant lays down is where they're going to build this temple. Well, this elephant heads up the mountain. I didn't know elephants climb mountains, but supposedly this elephant headed up this mountain and way up high there, and that's where he finally laid down. And so that's where they built a temple. Not an ideal place to build a temple. It would have been very difficult to build it up there, but that's where they built it. Elephants, you won't see a lot of elephants. You will see some elephants. They use them for logging. That's their skidders. Pull logs out of the mountains. They'll use elephants. Expensive, $20,000 or so in our money for an elephant. And so families will often go together and buy an elephant and share them. It's just have it in shares and take turns using the elephant. And you can imagine, and that's what I've never been able to figure out. It doesn't seem like a real poor. I mean, if you go to Haiti, I've been in Haiti and some of those, and South America and Central American countries that are extremely poor, and I don't know, their income is probably not a lot more there, but they have a way of making ends meet because their gas is, well, most of their vehicles are diesel, but their diesel would be equivalent around probably $5 a gallon in our money, and their housing. Hotels are fairly cheap, $30 a night, but to rent a nice house, you're talking $750 a month. So it doesn't, and I'm sure there's bad or slummy parts of the city where that maybe not as nice, but they do very well in keeping things up. So I can't imagine. I guess I've never been able to. In the times I've been there, I've never been able to figure out. I guess maybe we should take some tips from them how to survive on $10 a day and have a decent lifestyle, because a lot of times you wouldn't know that they're poor. But I haven't. Yeah, when you do the figures, it just doesn't add up for the cost of living and the income that they make, that they get. The school, just a little bit, I guess. I'm not sure. For the school that we're planning to go to this time is a new school, and there's I think James told me there's 400. Burma, which if you look at the map, Thailand is, and there's Burma, which is right above it. Vietnam, I think, Laos and Vietnam are to the one side. But Burma, which is just above it, is in a kind of an unrest, civil war, very unstable. And the school that we're planning to go to has 400 children from Burma as refugees. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be it's going to take probably something a little bit new from what we've experienced before, especially with the fact that and these college students that I guess these college students from Chiang Mai, from Giving Hope, they usually some of those can talk English somewhat, and some of those are, we interact with them a lot, and they often go along out to and kind of be translators somewhat, the best they can. This school is in Burma, has a different language from Thailand. It's a tribal language. James knows, he's from northern Thailand, which would be on the borders of Burma, the way I understand. And so his language, he does know his first language would have been the Burmese language or whatever they talk there. So he does know, but I'm not sure exactly how this is going to go with 400 children and one translator. But I guess we'll figure it out somehow. But it's children are they're usually willing to learn. They're interested in it, and so it's you learn to interact, and you can you do find a way to get your point across. So I don't know. At this point, I'm going to show these slides probably, and I'll probably talk a little bit as we go through that. But maybe there's other questions you had questions about before we do that? Sixth, first through sixth. So yeah, it's first through sixth grade. So after sixth grade, they would go to their what do you call that? In here, they would call it like middle school or whatever. They go to, so we go into the elementary, so basically the elementary schools, and then after sixth grade, seventh and eighth, then they would have their middle school, so they would go somewhere else. So yeah, it's young children, and I would say very young. It's their children go to school. At least they look young. I don't know. It seems they're this big anyhow. So just I guess before there was their churches are energetic. That has been an inspiration to me already. They're very they pour their heart into worship, and that's been a blessing. I think we could take some lessons from that as well. And I come back renewed and excited about worship service, praying together. We would after during a service, someone leads out in prayer. They would just a part of their service is prayer requests. So the moderator will state a prayer request. Let's pray for so and so, and everybody just prays out loud and all at one time, and for a while, and then it quiets down, and he'll give another prayer request. And their singing is energetic. They enjoy their church services. It was and in Chiang Mai, there most of the services that we go to are small. I would say 30 to 40 people probably, and then they will start another church to keep them. So because it's expensive to rent a big facility, and so they most have it part of their house, or usually it's in one of their houses or part of their house. And their one custom in Thailand is you do not wear, and because you wear flip-flops, so those of you that are going, make sure you have a good healthy pair of flip-flops or slides or something, because you'll be putting them on and off a lot. You go into a house, like outside, you would come into the church. Instead of coming into the church, you would outside the door there, and I think I might have a picture of the one church. Everybody leaves your shoes out the door. You don't come into a house. You don't go into a house without with shoes on. Shoes are dirty, so you take them off. So outside the church doors, there's a whole pile of slides. So I guess if you're tired of yours, you just pick up a new pair on your way out and hope they fit and see you find one that fits. But so you go in there and go there barefoot and very more probably not quite as formal as we have it. But so yeah, people are barefoot, and which reminds me, I'm going to tell a story of probably one of my most embarrassing moments ever. I had usually when we go over there, James makes sure that I don't miss out on a lot of preaching responsibilities. So sometimes preaching twice on a Sunday, in the morning at one church, in the afternoon at another church. And yeah, you just, like I said, it's you wear sandals and or flip flops. So the last time we were there in 2023, my wife and I and several of the board members went over. And at that time, James had moved about 3 hours south of Chiang Mai and was pastoring a church there. And so he wondered if I would preach there. And I said, I guess I didn't have much choice. One of the other board members, Ken Burkholder, which you'll see pictures of them, he was there. They were there for maybe 10 years, but they're back in the States now, but they were with us going over to Thailand. Anyhow, so James asked him if Ethan would preach, and he said, yeah, sure he would. So my services were somewhat volunteered. But anyhow, having never been to anything else than a small house church. So we obviously go as we were accustomed to and drive 3 hours south to visit this church that I was supposed to preach at. And we get there and discover that this is a mega church, or what they consider a mega church, probably between 300 and 400 members. And they had several pastors. The pastors all had black shoes and suit coats on. And I had flip-flops on. And they had a stage about 5 foot high with I think it had a glass pulpit. And I was supposed to preach. And they had a camera right in front of you, and then behind you they had a large screen where they were projecting you. So I was up here in flip-flops, and I was very I didn't say anything, he didn't say anything, nobody said anything, and I guess they got something out of it, but probably, and then maybe they didn't even think of it, but I definitely did. So I think from now on, when James asked me to preach, I'm going to make sure that I understand what attire is is there. But that was kind of. Let me see. I think that was. Anything else? Okay, as we go along in those pictures, just slides, just feel free to ask questions, raise your hand, or ask questions. kind of a video of oftentimes our layovers are in Taipei, which is Taiwan. It's kind of the longest flight, so I just did this. This was off of the seat back, the map in front of the seat back, so you can kind of see the distance and the flight path. This one didn't go quite as far north as we often do, but I think that flight was right around 9,000 miles. It was one of the coming back home or shorter must be with the wind. Or faster flight times than going over. Last time when we went over, I think we had 150 mile an hour headwinds, and our ground speed was just a little over 400 miles per hour. So we were creeping along, and if you're going 8,000 miles, it takes a long time. This was our group in 2020. I don't know. You might recognize some of them on there. We left out of Toronto. And that's Ruben there, Ruben Hosteller. That's kind of how you feel when you get over there. You just takes a couple days. It's not you wouldn't just go for a weekend because, well, I don't know, maybe a weekend would be better because you would get back before. But it truly takes 3 or 4 days really to feel like you're ready to do anything. There's the next several pictures are just going to be some scenery pictures. There's up on the mountains, and they have their rice fields on terraces. These pictures here would have actually been in our June trip. So these are just kind of a mixture of several different trips over there. I tried to pick some that would kind of give a picture of the culture and of what we do over there. And just it's very very, very mountainous, and there again, like on that one there, if you would go over there in February or March, all you would see was haze. It's not nice and clear and green lush like that is in June or July. This is the highest point in the highest mountain in Thailand, and there's every once in a while they do get frost way up here on this mountain, and that's a big deal because to see frost, and they would never get any snow. But if it's a clear morning, there's frost, people flock from miles around up here to this mountain to see frost. There's along the road a barn with several elephants. These elephants, it's interesting, and I kind of take it as it's a good lesson, I think, as you think of being enslaved by sin. But the way these elephants were tied around 1 foot to these posts with a very small dog chain, and the way that they train these elephants is starting with big, heavy logging chain. They'll tie as they're young that they cannot break. They will tie these elephants up by a leg with a very strong chain, and the elephant thinks that he knows he can't break it at that point, and after many years of that, he's convinced he will never break free, and so they can just tie them up with a small dog chain, and they will not break loose. Cattle, water buffaloes or whatever. This is their milk. I guess they're milk cows, beasts of burden. They use them pull carts, milk them out in a pasture here with some of their cows, and even on the road sometimes. This is Spirit House, you will see pretty much by every business, it's kind of almost a wealth status, but and most homes, individual homes, will have smaller ones, but this is called a spirit house. They set up these outside their houses, and that's for the spirits to live in. And so I think I might have another. There you can see that's at the base of that first picture there. You can see the one pedestal there, and this is the food and the drink that they put out for these spirits to live on. And they put this out every morning, and in the evening they go out and gather them up. And I'm not sure, it never made sense to me, how would you feed the spirits and go out in the evening and it's still all there, but it's just part of their religion. So they feed these spirits. They want to keep them happy. They want to feed them well. That way these evil spirits stay out in these houses and don't come into their place of business or their houses and bother them. And if you see, I don't know if I have any, I think if you see I'll have a picture of a temple and these pointed, and in Asia, if you see pictures, remember seeing pictures of China, of houses and temples with sharp points on them, they kind of swoop with sharp points. That is, they do those so the spirits can't land, the sharp points, the spirits can't land on their houses. So it's all part of their live much in a spirit world. They also, each house, each place of business has a 2-inch step. It does, and it's unhandy. You got to watch you don't trip. They have about a 2.5-inch step outside their threshold, and that is so the spirits can't crawl into their house. So I guess they get them if they're flying or if they're crawling or what, but they keep them out somehow. But it's quite. And some of these places you go in, their temples, you just get a creepy feeling. It's just you pray as you go in, you pray as you go through these temples just to sightsee, and you get a weird feeling sometimes from these spirits. Here's monks, these orange garbed young men. Well, most of them are young, but there's older ones as well. At this picture here, they're waiting. They come down. There's a monastery. They mostly live in monasteries up in the hills. And at 6 o'clock, I think it's 6 o'clock in the morning, they come down to the streets here, and people, you'll see those tables. They're standing there. There's tables of food there, and people bring them food and give them food, and that's part of the people that are giving them food. That's part of their good work. So that'll give them another star in their crown, I guess, and it gives the monks something to survive on. And so they get this in the morning, and they're allowed to eat until noon. And then after 12 o'clock, after 12 o'clock, they need to fast until 6 o'clock the next morning again. So I'm not sure exactly what they do in their monasteries, pray. I'm not sure, what all, but you'll see if they have an orange robe, they get first class treatment. Sometimes they're on the planes flying to and from Thailand, there'll be monks on it. They get to board the plane first. They get royal treatment. They're just lined up. These people are giving them, and tourists come by. It's kind of the tourists know this happens, so the tourists come by and buy food and give them food as well. So barefoot, you can see they're barefoot, close cut haircuts, and this was kind of an interesting. I saw multiple places here. I'm not sure if I'd be part of their tech committee there. I'd be kind of frustrated, but it's quite a jumbled wire mess that kind of intrigued me. You can't hardly see the sign for the wire mess. So I'm not sure. I think if one quits, they just run another one. I kind of figured out that's probably what it's all about. Somewhere in there's a driver driving this rig, a little food stand, lots of food stands. Most people, and I guess most people, their kitchens are very small. It's cheaper it's a little different than here. It's cheaper to eat out than it is to buy food. So when we were in 2018, when we were there was 13 of us, and we would go out to eat, have a good meal, some iced coffees, and for the 13 of us, it cost right around $20 US. So just a little over $1 a person. And so it's, yeah, you have a lot of roadside stands where people on their way home from work, they'll just stop, grab rice. Of course, rice is a very cheap food, their main food source. And so, yeah, this is a little portable roadside stand. This is our old faithful truck, Toyota truck that we usually drive around in. We can get, I think in this one here, I think we had 13 people in the back. It's just a short bed, so we had 13 people in the back. We were heading to the airport. Those boxes on top were hammocks that the mission had made, and we're sending them back to sell here in the States. So they asked if we would bring those along back. Not a very wise move on our part, but we managed to carry all those boxes through airports. But so we have, our luggage, about 13 people crowded in the back here, and we're off to the airport. As of now, this was in 2018, and now this truck they don't have that step on the back. They crack down if you've got to have a tailgate, a closable tailgate. So now they have the same. They had to modify a little bit, and you have to close the tailgate, but they still have that cover. Well, I guess here was in 2019. No, this was in 2020. So there you can see they eliminated that back step and put a tailgate on. So it not quite as many people can get in there. This was our first in 2018 when we were there. This is the children were all in school, but we went up into the village to visit. This is where they what I was telling you about, the children that go to grade school. This is their chapel. These are the caretakers there, and this is the children were all in school, all except for this one little boy there in the middle. He was supposed to do chores. That it was his turn to do chores, so he stayed at home. They fed us, gave us a royal treatment, literally rolled out the red carpet for us, and that's where you sit to eat. And I can't sit cross-legged, so it's a little more difficult for me. But so before you go, practice your cross-legged sitting skills. Here's these steps I was talking about going. Would be looking down. I think I have another one. This is looking up. See the dragons and on the side there, but this is kind of at the base. But there's hundreds of steps, and this is leading up to that Doi Suthop temple. This is the shrine on top. Just kind of the main point of the shrine, and you'll see idols laying there. There's incense. The smell almost gets to you sometimes in the temples and things. The incense that they burn. And here's their people. They just walk around. They walk around this gold shrine here. They've got prayer cards in there, or some kind of cards in their hands, reciting things, flowers, and they just walk around. I think usually I don't know how they know how many times they're supposed to walk around, but actually here's a video of them. You can see people kneeling there, praying to those idols there. But how many of us, when we go to a restaurant to pray for our food, we look around and see if anybody's looking, and we quick breathe a prayer, and are we ashamed of our God? It's been quite challenging to me to just not to be ashamed, but to just a little room up there on that temple where there's another different. They have. If you're going on a trip, you'll go to this certain room. You'll pray. They have certain gods for safety on trips. They have certain gods for health. They have. It's quite confusing. I'm not sure how they keep track of it all, but this is they was talking about that look overlook from the temple up there. You can see the runway down below, a couple thousand feet down below. Beautiful sight if you can see it. Other times we went up there, we could hear the planes landing and taking off, but we could not see them. Just the marketplace. We usually like this. It's called the night market. It's probably geared more towards tourists, where we usually go just one time to kind of take a quick look. Coffee or smoothie shops are about a daily. At least if it's our choice, we like to. There's this nice little smoothie shop here that we enjoy visiting. This is the New Creation Church. They've now changed to a different location, but most of the times when we were going over there, this is where we would. This is the boys' dorm. Was the boys' dorm for the college students, and you can see there. I don't know if you can see there on the steps or not, but yeah, even whether it's church services or just visiting, you kick your shoes off. This was probably the group, the college students. This would have been the first time we went. The group of college students, they're really into photos. They want to take photos, so they group photos. So yeah, you get a lot of group photos, which makes for good memories. But that was probably consisted of most of their church that there. On the right with the gray t-shirt, that's James, his wife Esther. They do not have any children. He's the pastor there that I'm in contact with. He can talk English fairly well. And then Ken Burkholder, Ken and Ange Burkholder, they live in central PA somewhere now. They're back in the States. They were there for 9 or 10 years, and just as he was there for 9 or 10 years. He told me towards the end of their stay there that as far as going out and interacting, he could communicate well with people, but he still at a church service, he still would not have endeavored to have a devotions in Thai. It's a very difficult language, and especially the church or their Bible language is even different. So it's a very difficult language to learn. There's some new foods we tried, some deep fried grubs. I guess they were deep fried. They weren't fresh anyhow. Kind of crispy. They're actually pretty good. So here we have Ken and Dorcas and Trevor. We're trying them for the first time. Okay, on count of 3. 1, 2, 3. You guys eat the grubs. That one there's moving yet, isn't it? Yeah. One of the and I'm not usually on when they have a group, when a group comes over as kind of an orientation, they'll do like a scavenger hunt. They'll give you a list of they'll divide you up into teams of 3 and 4. This time I kind of went along as an observer because I've been there several times, but especially for those that haven't been there, they'll give you a list of things to look for, and then they'll drop you off at their. It's not the tourist market. It's their Chiang Mai market, where the locals shop, and they'll give you a list of things to do and give you directions to meet up with later. So you're on your own to try to find your way and figure out what these things are that you're supposed to buy. One of them is to try a food that you never had before, and that was what they were doing here, is trying the grubs. Just interaction with them. They love soccer, and evenings is spent oftentimes with the college students playing games or something. They kind of they made us look pretty pretty sad when it came to playing soccer. This was at the Chiang Mai. That church there was this would have been the first time we were there. A project we did was building that wall, mixing mud by hand, and he had a contractor that we were helping, laying up the blocks. Privacy. Mark Gingrich, this would have been the 2019 trip, I think. Mark Gingrich was along. Some of you might probably know him. They gave us hats to wear. Interesting. Some of their tools are outdated. You just make do with I think that's Norman there, Norman and Trent. They're trying to cut some cement board, I think. I think we were using cement board for soffit, if I remember right. Tim Nisley was, I think, in charge of what he was doing, some painting there. This room here, we gutted, and it was very bad disrepair. They wanted to use it as a Sunday school room. This was at a church, and so we did painting, and this is put up the letters. That writing there says under his grace is what that, it's under his grace church. So that's what those letters are in Thai. The Thai language, the only space, once you get to a space, that's the end of a sentence. So their words are all, just lined up one after the other. There's no spaces between words. So when you get to, like in their books and things like that, there might be a big long, looks like a big long word, but it's actually a sentence. And then when there's a space, that's the end of the sentence. But that's under his grace church, after we had painted it and put up the letters. And again, painted the inside. They want it for nursery and Sunday school room. So it made a little bit of a transformation there. They're just I'm not sure what work project, working together. Some of the college students and some of the team. This is, just interacting. Like, this is inside under his grace church. This is the sanctuary there. Just do a lot of interacting. Just try to, they enjoy activities. So you just kind of try to, don't be shy or bashful. And you just kind of jump in and help them out. Do what you. Here, I think they had us all drawing pictures or something. I think we were supposed to draw pictures, and then that was part of our activity here, was drawing pictures, and then you had to stand up and say what your picture, or explain your picture. So we were trying to interact with them in that way, helping them to learn English by, they were supposed to explain their pictures in English, but some of them squeaked out a word or two. I thought I had deleted this one. Here's Trent and Norman trying their hula hoop skills. We stayed, the one we stayed in this church, they just laid mattresses on the floor there, and we slept there on the floor. This is the White Temple. This is actually a private temple. A wealthy man was trying to show his wealth, I guess, and so he built this white temple, and it's everything is white, inside, outside. It's white. The gardens, and it's now I guess more of a tourist place. You're not allowed to take photos inside, so everything is from the outside. But yeah, it's quite elaborate. All those spiky things on top are to keep the evil spirits away. This is their version of hell. As you walk along a pathway, you see all the hands reaching up. It's kind of, it's a little creepy actually, but that's kind of depicting hell, I guess. People trying to reach out of hell, and unfortunately they don't know how to escape hell otherwise. Here's a group photo. This is under his grace church. Clear on the left with the glasses, the white shirt and glasses, that's Pastor A. He's a pastor there. This was probably after a church service. They wanted to do a group photo, so they get everybody up to take a group photo. This would have been our 2020 trip. with the college students, and again, they just the lady kneeling on the left with the reddish t-shirt, reddish shirt, Mim. She's very good at her English is very good. She's actually when I preach over there and they translate. James, I always thought James would probably translate for me, but he lets her do the translating because she's better at it than her English is better than his. So she does very well. This was a small church. This was our afternoon service. We had that first one was probably our morning service. This was the afternoon service. Went out to visit this small country church. They treated us like royalty. They served up a meal. If you dug deep, you found chicken feet in the meal, in the soup. So we kind of skimmed off the top. But they were very friendly, gave us poor people, but they gave us the best they had. Unfortunately, this church is not a Korean. There's a lot of Korean missionaries coming to Thailand. There's Christians. Korea actually has many Christians, and they come to Thailand to witness. To witness and raise funds. This Korean missionary came over here, and came over here, said he wants to build a church. So he went back, raised funds, and told his Korean church at home that he's raising funds for this church. So he built this church, and he would come once a month and have services for him. And his main goal was he could go back and raise more funds. And I'm not sure what he was doing with his funds, but he could raise more funds. So they let us use it in the afternoon. And so we were there in the afternoon, had an afternoon service, but I've understood since that he has not, he has told James that he's not allowed to use this church anymore. So kind of got kicked out of this location. This was the church service. It said small churches. Probably the group was half of the church, but very energetic. The man kneeling in the front holding the child is Pastor Best. He's also a pastor. He cannot talk English, so it's kind of difficult to interact with him, but a very dedicated Christian. Here we were probably practicing our art skills, trying to figure out how we're going to do for crafts. Usually have a kind of an orientation, a game plan. Here's the school that we, just in the morning we'll get together, have kind of a group singing, do some activities with them. And here's again a group photo of the school. These would have been divided up into 5 groups and would have, like I was explaining, would come through our classes there. We do a skit, Bible story. Last time we had, thought I had it here somewhere. This is them eating food. But last we did on the Good Samaritan. I think I have some pictures of that. I didn't have any videos of that. I wish I would have had a video of the skit itself. But the children enjoyed it. I don't know how much they got out of it, but they enjoyed it. Here's Dorcas with her and Trevor had, I believe they had the cooking class, so I'm not sure. They had like workbooks and things that they go through. So having one of the classes. Again, this was probably in our morning group. Just sit amongst the children. They want to sit on your lap. They want to come. It's very easy to become attached with them. They love to interact. This was a different school. This school, they required uniforms. It was a little more orderly. They had them lined up in rows, and it's a little more orderly. But they had uniforms. Here was just probably some playtime. they said they just, yeah, the children are easy to get attached to. These are, I'm not sure, some of the, I don't know if they were the teachers. This was actually at that church that we had visited that Sunday afternoon, I believe was, especially couples. This is Ken and Dorcas there. Probably as couples go over there, it's probably very attractive to them because, again, like I said, I'm not sure what kind of home situations they come from, but family setting is probably kind of foreign to them. They found a new way to play tag, one that they didn't have to run around. They hired someone else to do the running for them. This was elephant rides. There's a elephant place. It's kind of for tourists, but it's kind of a nice place just to go to. James often takes us there just to experience elephant rides. Just a little bit before we got there, we were wondering how safe it was, and we found out after elephant ride that just prior to us getting there, the one elephant had got mad at somehow. Yeah, he was mad at his driver, I guess, or at another. I guess they have a good man. He had a man that had tried to trick him, and he saw him and went running after him. The driver that was sitting on his head fell off, and so this elephant was running through the jungle for about 2 hours with 2 people on their backs. Sharing time is just if you go, be prepared to share testimony. They want you to speak. So here's Tim Nisley, and James is there's Atlee again sharing. Everybody, they want everybody to have a turn to share. Probably just a morning activity. Dwayne sharing at a church. This was a picture of our skit. I don't know if you can see the donkey there under the. He was sure who was the guy that got beat up there, but Reuben was the donkey. We had a donkey suit, so Reuben is underneath there somewhere, and he's carrying this over to. I'm not sure if we had some robbers, which I think I was one of the robbers. That was kind of fun. Oh, that was Derek Slabaugh. I was a robber, and then I was also the innkeeper, so I had 2 jobs. So I was bandaging him up there. They like just to interact, try to help the students. These would be the college students. Try to help them in their English skills. That was this lady in the center there holding that red backpack, Zaida. She's a Mexican. She's from Mexico, and she moved to Thailand she knows Thai very well and Spanish as well, but she's very good at, she's a school teacher, and so I'm not sure if she's going to be there this time or not. I hope she is, but she has a way of helping just to organize, keep things organized, but does a very, very good job in that. Okay, I think that's about it. If I'd go into my other photos, I'd have a lot of them, but I think that was just it's time to close and just a quick overview a little bit. So Martin?
So they kept going through college?
No, they were actually, it was much worse there even here. They reacted a lot worse there even than what we did here. And it was even after we were opened up, even after we had opened up for some time, I would say it was probably, they slowly opened up, but it was, I think, pushing the end of 2022 till they really felt like they were even really moving beyond it. So they really seems like we blame our government sometimes for how they reacted here, but there's other countries did but it was very tough for them because, like I said, tourists is their main economy, and yeah, you don't get millions of people coming in. It hurt them. Okay. Well, thanks for being here. And if you have any other questions, feel free to ask. But pray for the work there. Planning to leave October 31st and come home the November 16th. So appreciate your prayers in that, and also thank you to those of you who contributed financially to the work project that we'll be doing there. Appreciate your generosity in that as well. I'm sure it'll be much appreciated. Okay, let's stand for closing prayer. Dear God, we thank you tonight for who you are. Thank you for the blessings that we experience in this country and what our culture that we've grown up in. Lord, we thank you for that, and help us to value it and never take for granted the blessings that we experience. And just pray for the work in Thailand, bless the people there. Also other mission fields in Slate Falls, Duane's as they work there, and just pray that your blessing could be upon them. Be with us as we go from here, and just protect us, Lord. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. You're dismissed.